I think. So, I mean, LRF is about promoting reading culture, promoting mass literacy. Nigeria currently has one of the highest number of out of school children. The last count was 23 million people, children out of school in Nigeria, 23 million. We have a population of over 200 million, so we have 10% of our population out of school. That is a disaster. That is a time bomb waiting to explode. And I mean, we're talking about education, you have to read, you have to learn, you have to, I mean, acquire information for you to be able to be educated. And that is what we are championing. That is what we are campaigning for at the LRF. There's this 18 goals, 18 agenda by the United Nations that are called Sustainable Development Goal. Goal number 4 or agenda 4 speaks to having education for every human being. That is a fundamental right of every human being to have access to quality education and to also have platforms for continuous learning for them. And that is what we are aligned to as an organization, as a foundation. We campaign for, okay, let's go to schools to go and talk to children about the importance of reading. Also have this monthly reading sessions, which we do on Zoom. We've been doing this for some years now, where we bring Nigerian authors to come and read to us from their literary works, come and share the motivation, the inspiration, the experiences, and even the challenges about what they've written with us. And, so that we can all learn, we can all share the experiences, share the pains, share the pleasures, share the joy, the high and the low points in terms of when they were writing this piece. Because, in literature, in Africa, we believe that literature does not exist in vacuum. There's always something propelling any literary work from being documented or being published. So we want to probe the authors to look at what were you thinking about, what were the challenges we're trying to address, what are the issues that maybe provoked this literary piece that you, and if it's just for fun, for pleasure, we want to also be part of that pleasure as well. So we do this monthly reading where we have authors come to read to us, and we also stream it on Facebook. And from what we've seen, more people get to watch it on Facebook later on than even those of us that gather here. But we need those of us that gather here to be able to engage the authors, to be able to interact with the authors, and then also the book as well. So, it's been a fantastic journey. And, luckily we have one of the board of trustees of LRF here today, who's actually the one that actually also introduced the author to us, in the person of Seun Olaniyi, who has been a friend since university days, even though he was from Ado-Ekiti. That's where it's good, but fate sort of joined us together in July, I think in year 2000 or so, and we've been friends since then. And so I'm glad that he's here today to firstly to give moral support to his friend and his former colleague, who is our author for today, and I also as one of us, as those who are at the helm of decision in LRF. So Seun, do you want to just maybe show your face, let them see you, let them see one of the board of trustees, this ghost that we've always been talking about, that on behalf of board of trustees, and let them see what one of them looks like today.
That's so a great one.
Maryland, for this reading. And another beauty of LRF is that people come from different parts of the world. When we have our event, we have, oh, great, he has a copy of the book. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so so we have somebody who can even engage the author on a more pragmatic level, having read this piece, and then I think that would be fine as well. And another program we also do, we have what we call reading culture dialogue. That is done every quarter. I think the next one we'll be doing is in January when we talk about issues, the barriers, challenges, and things that are affecting education in Nigeria, because this is where we currently are now. What are those barriers that are not allowing Nigerian children to be able to have access to quality education? What are the issues, be it at the federal, state, or local level? And the next issue we'll be discussing is this monster that has been a part of Nigerian lexicon for God knows over 40 years now, or let's say 30 years. That's ASU strike. So come January, in some weeks' time, we'll be discussing ASU strike. And hopefully, we already have commitment from an ASU official or officials joining us. So we are actually trying to get officials from the federal government. Those are the labor ministry and those are the education ministry. So that is what we are planning in January. And we look forward to having all of you there to join us as well. So from my side, over and out.
Thank you so much, our director, for that in-depth look into LRF and its objectives. So I think with that, I can make bold to say that we all here this evening are book lovers or literary workers who readily identifies with the aims and objectives of the LRF. So we are here this evening for a common goal, reawakening the reading culture. And not only this, I believe we shall be having a splendid and exciting time with our author, Nina Fabunmi. I don't know if she's a Mrs. or a Miss. But I guess by the time she's been introduced, we get to know that. So before I'll be calling on our author to share her works with us, I shall be calling on Ms. Rodiat to give us a profile of the author. Ms. Rodiat, I believe you have to give the author's profile before we bring the author on board.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me? Okay.
We can. Go ahead.
Good evening. Okay. Miss Nina Fabunmi. Miss Nina is a highly accomplished contemporary representational artist, boasting an MFA in painting from the prestigious Academy of Arts University in San Francisco, where she also served as a faculty member with an impressive exhibition record spanning Europe, Africa, and America. Ms. Nina has established herself as a leading figure in the art world, and numerous arts awards and publications in renowned magazines such as American Art Collector, Southwest Arts, Chronicle, San Francisco Magazine, and Artist Portfolio Magazine are a testament to her talent and dedication. Her artistic prowess extends beyond traditional arts mediums, as she is equally adept at producing captivating works in digital media and creative writing. Ms. Nina's diverse artistic skill sets allows her to create. Okay, I think we should digest that. Then I'll continue.
Wow.
I'll continue.
Miss
Nina's diverse artistic skill sets allows her to create stunning works across a wide range of genres. She draws inspiration from her roots and the environment around her. Her creativity often captures the beauty, energy, and societal of the world we inhabit. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. And we should clap for.
Yeah. She deserves a rousy clap. That's a very good one. And from that, I'm really wowed to see that, as our Yoruba people will say, that our hook has caught a big fish. We welcome our author for the day. Mrs. Nina Fabunmi on board. From that brief biography, we can see that she is a seasoned artist, an artist with diverse artistical skills, and a part of which she'll be sharing with us this evening. I'm already excited and looking forward to that great session with her. You are welcome on board, Miss Nina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I want to say a special thank you to Sheung, of course. Sheung was my colleague at Globacom, and he introduced me to literary renaissance. I want to thank Babs and Hajia for also having me, and everyone who took time out of their busy schedule to be here. Thank you so much. It's actually like 8:44 a.m. in San Francisco, so a lot of people are sleeping or in church. And I even have a holiday show today at 11 a.m. So thank you for taking time out to be here.
Oh, you are highly welcome. I think, I guess we should be the one thanking you for sparing us that time from this your tight schedule you've just highlighted. We really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. And without taking too much of your time, we think we should just let you delve into sharing your work with us, reading from your book.
Okay. I would like to share my screen, but the screen is disabled.
Okay, sorry about that. We should get you very soon.
So?
Just give me some seconds to sort that.
So the title of our novel is Petals for My Tears. Quite eye-catching and touchy, but I won't preempt what to expect. I'll just wait for it.
All right, so let me ask, do you want me to go straight into reading the book, or do you want me to give you a little preamble of how the book became?
Actually, you'll be sharing your work with us in 3 stages.
Okay.
There'll be interlude at each stage for reaction from your audience. So if you want to start with the preamble, that's good. That means immediately after the preamble, maybe you take the first reading.
Okay.
In the first part that you like to share with us, then we get reaction from people before you take the second streaming.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so let me give you a little history of how this book started. I actually started writing this book in 2008.
Wow.
And, it started as a short story, which was titled My First Time. It was about a young girl who found love. She had a crush on a guy in the village, and it was how she got her first kiss. And I write poetry, a whole lot of poetry. So I had a whole collection of poetry that I'd been writing over the years. And in 2008, I met a book author called Mukta Bakare in Farafina Books. So I took my poetry to Mukta Bakare and I said, hey, can you publish my poetry? And he read all my poems and he was like, oh, your poetry is really deep, but I don't know anything about poetry. But then he saw that short story and he was like, this story is really good. Can you make it a novel? And so I was like, how am I supposed to write a whole novel out of this short story? And he said, just take it and break it up into different parts and just expand them. And so that was how the book started. It took me 15 years to write it because life just happened. And so sometimes I pick it up, I drop it, I feel inspired. And, honestly, I didn't even know it was going to get as big as it did. Like, it just kept growing and growing. And eventually it became a book. I finally finished the book during the pandemic in 2020.
Yeah.
And that was because we were home. I was working from home and I finally had time to get back into it. And so, yeah, that's how the book started. So let me read. I chose chapter 4 because it kind of gives you a little bit of the taste of what you see in the rest of the book. I didn't want to pick like the beginning pages because it was a slow build up. So I just thought chapter 4 is perfect. And of course, it starts with a poem. Okay. Beautiful is what I see, but beneath lies that which is unseen. Today, tomorrow, a day will come, diving deep into your depths. Tamara, Tamara, oh beautiful one, fetching water in the woods. And fetching water in the woods, one day I shall reach out for thee and claim your heart and make you mine, and you shall fetch water no more. Grandpa retired to his bedroom, and he lay back on his bed, staring straight at Tamara's portrait. The atmosphere was filled with the beautiful tweeting of birds, the sound of the wind, and the quaint sunshine. He drifted away, thinking about her. The mystery was finally broken, but there was so much yet to be revealed. A new mission had snuck up on him, a challenge he gladly welcomed. He would try to befriend her despite what people may say. The prospect of love tingled his sensations. It was an emotion he was yet to explore. His body was doing things he had never expected. It had a mind of its own. He had to regain control. He took a cold shower to calm his hormones. The universe writes its own scripts. We are just like actors on its stage, he thought. He was grateful for a beautiful new day. He wouldn't let it go to waste. In the evening, he went into the bushes. He walked to the same place where he had first sighted his mysterious goddess and hoped that he might get lucky again. He looked around, but emptiness had replaced her divine presence. He felt a void, like a deep pit in his stomach. He swallowed hard as if to fill it up, but that didn't work. He then found a cozy spot under a hidden tree and waited in ambush. He anticipated the sound of her footsteps, that she may decide to grace him with her presence. It had been a long day and he was tired. The weather was hot and he was sweating profusely. He decided to take off his shirt, his sandals, and even unload his pockets in order to get more comfortable. He waited for so long to no avail that eventually he slept off. Only then did Tamara come creeping in the bushes with her calabash well balanced on her head. She walked to the stream quietly, almost like floating above the ground. When she got there, she tested the water with the tip of her toes. The temperature was perfect. She looked around to make sure no one was watching and gently peeled off her wrapper, the only piece of clothing she had on. She slowly immersed herself in the river and gave her body time to adjust to the wet, warm water. She swam like a fish with fins, back and forth, slowly taking full advantage of the moment. The moon was in full bloom, and the night was dimly lit by it. The trees made moving shadows on the surface of the river in submission to the cool breeze that blew. The weather became chilly, indicating to Tamara that the time had come to head home. She came out of the water, pulled her locks of hair together and squeezed it in a twisting motion to get as much water out of it as possible. She then filled her calabash up with water, tied her wrapper, secured it with a knot, and sat her calabash on her head before proceeding to leave. Tamara had already walked some distance when she heard a sonorous snoring sound coming from close by. She gently dropped her calabash at the foot of the nearest tree, summoned up courage, and quietly walked towards the direction of the sound. The firefly-lit bushes opened up to reveal a young man fast asleep under a tree. He was very tall, dark, and good-looking. His hair was thick, dark, and bushy. She could tell he was young. His beard was still struggling to be seen, and his bare chest had no hair on it. He looked exhausted and did not even budge as Tamara stood over him in careful study. She finally recognized him as the person who had sold fish to her earlier that day. The same guy in her art class, too. But what is he doing here? She thought to herself. Did he follow me, or is he simply looking for a new fishing ground? Tamara then decided to teach him a lesson to discourage him from venturing there again. She took his shirt, shoes, and his wallet and dashed off quietly. The poor lad won't know what hit him, she thought, giggling to herself. When she got to where her calabash was, she tied up the loose contents of her lute in a knot at the corner piece of her wrapper, repositioned her calabash, and headed home. The night breeze blew strong as he slept on. He was comforted by it. It dried the sweat on his face and chased away the mosquitoes. Frogs croaked and crickets chirped. His sleep was sweet, and it continued until he was suddenly awakened by flutters of raindrop on his naked skin. He jumped up suddenly and looked around for his shirt, but it was not there. Thinking that the wind may have blown it away, he decided that he would look around surrounding bushes on his way. He then reached out for his sandals, but they were not there either. And the emptied out contents of his pocket did not include his wallet. "Oh my goodness, I've been robbed," he exclaimed. He dashed out quickly and began running home. The rain had even become heavier, and he shivered. Goosebumps covered his entire body. The journey home appeared longer than ever before. He ran like a madman chasing nothing. Running on bare feet made it even tougher. He was exhausted. He paused to catch his breath intermittently. Finally, he found shelter in a fruit seller's shop. He stayed there until the rain had subsided. In his wait, a lot of thoughts ran through his mind. He wondered how his possessions had been taken from him. He didn't feel safe even in the quietest of places. When the rain finally stopped and he walked home, his arms wrapped around what part of his bare skin they could cover. He was shivering and sneezing till he finally reached his destination, drenched and sober. The rain continued to fall after his arrival. He looked outside the window and watched it beat against the floor while reflecting on his journey home and the events that preceded it. His grandparents were very glad to see him. Grandma rushed in, grabbed a warm Adrinka pattern blanket, and wrapped him up in it. "Where have you been, Mom? We were worried sick about you. Where is your shirt? Why? You're on bare feet? Oh, Guinea." Grandpa inquired. "Looks like you went playing in the rain, huh?" "Ezioku Makagini. Why?" Grandma added. "Grandpa, it's not funny, oh. If I tell you what happened to me, eh? I fell asleep under a cozy tree, and when I woke up, my shirt, shoes, and wallet were gone. I can't believe I was robbed right under my own nose. Kai!" Ehi replied. When he spoke, his voice trembled. He still felt cold, but slowly adjusted to the warmth of the blanket. "What?" Grandpa brought out in an even bigger laughter. Grandma smiled as if trying to control herself from laughing too, but she couldn't hold it and laughed along with Grandpa. "Ehi, take a hot bath. I'm sure you feel much better after that," Grandma advised. As soon as Ehi left, Grandma couldn't help but laugh some more. She and Grandpa laughed together. After his hot bath, he had a bowl of fresh catfish pepper soup. Grandma prepared it with some strong African spices, so hot that they chased the cold away. He then retired to his bed. While under the comfort of his sheets, he kept thinking about what could possibly have happened to his belongings. He stared at his Tamara art collection on the ceiling and drifted off to sleep. The rain continued to fall, sometimes hard and sometimes soft. It beat against his window, making tapping sounds on the rooftops and other wet, shiny surfaces. On that fateful rainy night, underneath the same gloomy skies, not so far away, was the mystery of how Ehi got robbed. Tamara locked herself up in her bedroom chamber and laughed. She had never been so happy. She recollected the mischief that had gifted her with such hilarity. She was so excited that her laughter could not be contained. She peeled off her wet wrapper and emptied the contents of his wallet out on her bed and began to go through his belongings. She studied each of them carefully. His identity unfolded gradually as she glanced over his student ID card, driver's license, and a tiny notebook that had information like his name, age, address, pictures of his family, friends, and him. Then she came across a folded note. She opened it and began to read. Shocked by its contents, she studied it even harder. Tamara, beautiful one, the mystery that is you only draws me closer to you. The history that you house keeps me knocking on your door. Tender may be the rap of my tap, for I fear that you may fear me so. But I think not, dream not, and sleep not, without the thoughts of you hounding at me. Without your face staring at me, you have melted the rock that I call the heart. And one day I pray that one day, shall reach out for thee and claim your heart and make you mine, and you shall fetch water no more. Her eyes became saturated with tears. They couldn't be contained. The tears began to roll down her cheeks as she absorbed the contents of the note. She read it over and over again. It gave her a feeling she had never had before. She thought to herself that though the village treated her badly and branded her an outcast, someone else thought of her differently. Her spirit felt contentment. She thought about the young man sleeping under the tree with a bounty full of words that had warmed her heart. She dug deeper into his wallet as if looking for more beautiful words. Another single sheet of paper waited patiently, and when opened, revealed a very detailed pencil portrait of her, signed Ehi. She studied it for a very long time. She then stretched out on her bed and clutched her pillow tight up beneath her breast, drifting into very profound thoughts. At this point, all her senses seemed alert. She started feeling emotions she had never felt before, like butter melting on a hot plate. She felt weak and tender. It was the longing for a need that she knew not of. These words inspired feelings in her she never knew existed. She had lived a life ostracized from everyone, including her own self. Someone had captured her on paper. Only then had her own beauty been revealed to her. She stood up, locked the door, and pulled down the blinds. Satisfied that she was alone with no one watching, she walked towards the full mirror, which had been covered with a wrapper for as long as she could remember, stripped it and gazed at her own image. Touching her face tenderly, she then took off all her clothing and hugged the concave of her waist. Oh gosh. She thought to herself, am I really as beautiful as he makes me out to be, or is this just an illusion? She removed the bun holding her locks and shook her head until they fell in perfect array. She stared at herself even harder. Yes, I'm beautiful, she said. The chilly wind that blew that night had become more aggressive. It cracked her window open and split the cover of her curtains apart. Caught unawares and conscious of her nudity, she quickly clutched her perky breasts. She looked outside the window to be sure no one was watching. But there was no one. All she saw was a figment of her vivid, impossible imagination. And he stood there smiling with arms wide open. He beckoned her to come to him. She was transfixed. She stared right back. Their gazes burrowed into each other until the image finally faded off. She snapped back into reality. She picked her clothes up from the floor and put them slowly back on. Growing up with mockery and the scorn of society, Tamara could never before bear to look at herself. Her ego was beaten and her self-esteem had been non-existent. Filled with self-pity and disregard, she had grown up to hate herself. One day she had come home and covered the mirror in an old worn-out wrapper. She swore never to look at it again. She was tired of feeling judged by a mere object that had the power to capture her reflection in totality. She would look at it and it would look right back at her. She would cry and it would cry back at her. It showed her tears and every inch of pain she felt. Everything came in double proportions. And when she couldn't handle it anymore, she took measures to rid herself of it. But a new day had seen her looking at a new Tamara. She regained the courage to stare into that mirror and liked what she had seen. Full of self-admiration and confidence, she swore once more, but this time to never hide the mirror again. She had suddenly developed faith in herself, something she had been lacking all her life. And he had breathed new life into her. She loved the way it made her feel. She slept with a beam on her face, looking forward to the dawn of a new day. The next morning, she took time to get dressed. She even installed some extra beads and cowries in her hair. Her locks were oiled with fresh palm kernel oil. She was wearing a new half top and a lower hip wrapper to match. It revealed her bare belly, which was adorned with jigida beads, an exotic maiden tradition that symbolized beauty, purity, and the preservation of elegance. She tied a matching scarf on her head and allowed her locks to fall on both sides of her shoulders and her back. She then went off to her art class. The trip was adventurous. There were stares and comments that exceeded the usual. Some good, some bad. She took it all in. She didn't care about it and damned the whole world as she walked on. She arrived early and sat at a strategic position. She was easily noticeable.
Wow.
My.
Interrupt you, Otto.
Okay, let's see. I have like,
Sorry for the interruption, please.
okay.
I will see we still have a lot to go in that chapter.
Oh
and,
no, it's just 2 more pages. Actually,
okay,
I'm almost done.
pages.
It's
All
one
right.
more page.
All right,
I
all right.
selected only 10 pages.
I finish. I thought there are still a lot of pages there.
No, it's
All
just
right.
one.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Yeah,
If
I'm eager. I'm quite eager for reactions from people by now.
It's
But
okay.
so you can go on.
It's okay. Yeah. I don't want to read too much or too little. So we're almost done, I promise you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, where was I? I was
You
my
were-
Mr. Mitu's face lit up like a bulb as he commented, Is someone looking so ravishing today? He continued. Good morning, sir, Tamara replied, smiling. Blood rushed to her cheeks, making them look like tender pink plums. Good morning, Tamara. I have a special assignment for you today. Let's not waste all of this. I'm going to have you be our model, and the class can sketch you. How exciting. What, Mr. Maytu? No, you know I need to draw too, Tamara exclaimed. That can be arranged, my dear. Plus, you'll also get extra credits for it. He managed to convince her that she was the perfect model and that it would be interesting to see how the other students would capture her. Mr. Maytu then called 2 other students in the class and asked them to go bring the large mirror from the second studio and put it against the wall. The class was arranged in such a way that she could conveniently see herself and participate. Tamara, you'll be drawing as well. Let's see how you see yourself. Self-portraits could be very revealing, you know. He had really roped her into this new drawing initiative. There was no escaping. She took it as an affirmation of her newly acquired confidence. Okay, we're on the last page we're reading today. At the end of the lesson, she would gain more value for herself. It was scary but exciting. Class had commenced and Tamara took her mind off all the eyes studying her. She looked into the mirror, observed herself, and drew. How could this have happened, she thought. It was even more of a coincidence that just the day after she had looked in the mirror for the first time in years, the art class would be spent looking into another mirror. More thoughts ran through Tamara's mind, and where is the man responsible for this, she wondered. And he was nowhere in sight. She continued her drawing and heard Mr. Maytu mumble as he finally walked in. She could see him through the mirror and heard him make excuses for his tardiness. I'm really sorry, sir. I was robbed yesterday, and I had a rough night. Mr. Maytu allowed a minute of awkward silence pass by before he eventually responded. He was processing his take on Ehi's excuse. So sorry to hear that. You didn't get hurt, did you? Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't even know what hit me, Ehi laughed sarcastically. It's okay, I'm glad you're well. Make yourself comfortable. You know the drill, Mr. Maytu responded. Ehi took a seat from the few available spots. He then brought out his sketchbook and other drawing materials. And that's all for now. This is what the book looks like. I read 10 pages from chapter 4. It comes in hardcover, softcover, and the Kindle version, and it's available on Amazon. So if you want a little more of it.
Wow, that's quite a big text. And we are getting so engrossed. Actually, I had to interrupt you because I know many people will be eager to say 1 or 2 things. And from what you have just shared with us, it's proving to be a great love story. So the question that immediately comes to my mind is to ask the genre, the type of novel it is, but from what had been revealed so far, I could pick that it's a bit of the romantic and of course a love story between Tamara and Hehi. Initially, I was thinking it's sort of a gothic when we have the surreal, the supernatural terrain, when he assumed her to be a goddess. But as the story unfolds, I was glad that it's actually mundane. And I love the switch from the local, a quick switch from the local to modernity. You know, at the beginning, we talk of a riverside in the wild, seeing Tamara coming to fetch water with a pot. Instantly one would feel that the setting is quite a local one. But as the story goes on to unfold, we were quickly transited from that local setting to the finesse of modernity of the protagonist through the content of the I think the wallet picked up by Tamara, who displayed a mischievous side by cutting away some personal effects of admirer. I love this. It's more of a story of a journey into self-discovery. I think the poetry, I love that note of poetry, really opened Tamara's eyes to her own personal quality, her beauty, and making her discover the strength within and personality, discovering herself and getting a whole new personality. Then I love the way that chapter ends on a note of irony. Actually, while Tamara was wondering where her lover is, actually the lover is not far away. I love that. And on that note, I believe the audience must have been thrilled as well, and they have one or two things to say before you take. We sure love to have you read maybe the concluding part or any part you chose to share with us again, because already I'm itching to lay my hands on that text. So over to you, members of the House. If you have any word, question for our author, comments before she takes us through another enthralling read. Maybe one or two more pages. Yes. We are waiting your responses, please.
Rodia is raising a hand. Rodia, you have a comment, a question? Please shoot. Rodia, you need to unmute yourself. Okay, I think there are some comments while we're waiting for Rodia to fix our audio. Modupe says that the image of the mirror got me thinking. Very, very captivating scene there. And then H. said that very engaging and sincerely, it is a journey of self-discovery. I think that is idea on that journey of self-discovery quip that she made earlier. So, Rodia, can you talk now? You have the floor. Then we take Chukuma and Maxwell.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, SARS and Mars. Good evening to our beautiful author, Nina. I don't know if I should call you an author now or a poet, because I can see that the book is like a mixture of both. And I can't really tell which part of it I like more, because initially I was a novel person. I mean, growing up, I'd always loved to read, novels and books, stories, and all. But along the line, I became more of a poetry person. So seeing a book that has a mixture of both is like, the dream comes true for me. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to experience this what should I call it? Should I call it a magic? Because uh personally, I when you mentioned something about the book being, having a village setting, I was like, okay, what am I to expect? I joined the meeting a bit late, but then like that was where I started to catch up. Then when you started reading, especially, the parts where Eri, I don't know how to call it, pronounce correctly, but I think Eri, right? Where he was expecting her to show up at the river or the stream, and like the elements that you used, I mean, the vivid illustration is just like, it's nothing such short of a magic. Like the way we can easily picture the setting the way we can capture his emotions at that point, the way the texts come to life is something I believe uh must have taken such artistry from you as the author. And I really appreciate the fact that I got the opportunity, because there are a lot of texts in the world, there are a lot of books, and we can't really tell which is good and which isn't. But the fact that there is this opportunity for us to look into, have an excerpt of this book and enjoy, even if it's just a bit of it, I'll really be glad if I can get the book though, because I'm already entranced by the story. It's like a break from reality. Most times, reality is harsh, the economy is there constantly haunting and other things. So I've always been a fan of love stories, because they give you that break from that, constant headache of having to cope with some realities of life. So the fact that we could enjoy this bit in Eri and Tamara's story is something I find refreshing. So thank you so much for bringing this to us. And I think I mentioned already, but I have to mention again that I love the mix of poetry and the prose story writing. It's really nice, and it's just beautiful. So I don't have a lot of questions because I have not read the full book, but uh why I was just curious, why Airy? I'm sorry, my question is random. Most times when I'm reading a story, I kind of try to picture what's going on in the author's mind. And because I'm an author myself, so most times I try to picture what's going on, why this, why that. So the name was just, it came off different, it came off, it's the first time I'm coming across it. So I was just curious along the line.
Right. Thank you, Rod. Yeah. I guess the author will react to that. You are asking why the name Hehi, or did I get you right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear from the author.
All right. So actually changed the first name I gave him was Akoko. I don't know where I got the Akoko from, but I like the sound of Coco, Akoko. Then I just told myself it sounds a little comedic. So I wanted something a little more impactful. Ehiogene is a Delta name, and it
Good,
means God's gift.
good,
I
great.
wanted it to be God's gift to Tamara, so I felt this name is significant. So Ehi is the short form, and Ehiogene. I'm from Delta State.
Wow.
Yes.
So the story is actually inspired from your background, and the names add to the local color of the text. I must agree. And not only the name, I love the fact that your choice of diction also corroborated the local color by switching the code mixing of your dialect, I believe. But I thought where you have the local language, it sounds more Igbo to me.
Okay,
Am I right?
A lot of people hear my last name and wonder where it comes from. It's a
I
little
was thinking it's
complicated.
Igbo language.
What is Sheung? Sheung knows where that name comes from.
But that makes
sense.
Yeah,
So,
yes, I do, but let's keep it a secret.
exactly. It's complicated. Yeah, but I'm from Delta State, but I was born and raised in Lagos. I actually speak Yoruba more than any other local language because I went to the University of Ife.
That's another wow.
Yeah.
That you can speak Yoruba. Wow, wow, wow. You are a true Nigerian. And the fact that you are widely traveled has not taken away eroded any bit of this in you. I give you a big one, a big kudos for that. I think Mr. Chukuma has his hand raised here. Mr. Chukuma,
Yes, ma'am.
Please, your reaction, please.
Oh, thank you very much, Nina. Permit me to call you Nina, please. My response is going to be in this way. Your reading actually resonates with me at different levels. When you started reading, the first thing that came to my mind is one of the poems selected for reading for WAEC and NECO in Nigeria. And that poem is entitled The Good Morrow by John Donne. I'll just read about 4 lines out of it. I wonder by my truth what thou and I did till we loved. Were we not win till then? Then let me go to the last stanza. Where can we find 2 better hemispheres without sharp north, without declining west? Whatever dies was not mixed equally. If our 2 loves be one, or thou and I, love so alike that none do slacking, none can die. That is actually exactly how I felt when you started reading. It resonates with, okay, this is a metaphysical platform for one to actually show love. That is number 1. Then number 2, when Ehi went to the stream side and then slept off, the story resonates. In fact, I was asking myself, am I sure that you didn't study literature in school? Because it's like you poached, forgive me for using that word. It's not as if you actually poached, but since you're a writer, we stand on the shoulder of others to see better. But it resonates with Chinua Achebe's The Madman. There's a short story written by Chinua Achebe entitled The Madman. And although that didn't end well, but what happened to Ehi actually is almost similar to somebody who went to the stream to actually do something noble, and at the end of the day gets robbed, and in some case by a madman. But in this case, he was robbed by love, even though he actually went to the stream for something noble. So it began to dawn on me that, your writing, you may not know, resonates at different level, not just capturing the present, but captures an essence of the past equally, and probably speaks to the future as well. So thank you very much for your reading, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? I feel quite elated that you would compare my work to Chinua Achebe. I have read Things Fall Apart. I have not read The Madman. And I actually went to Federal Government Girls College, Benin City for my secondary education. I did literature when I was in senior secondary school, and I used to fail it. I failed. I hated literature so much.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they would make us read Macbeth. And Macbeth, Macbeth was excruciating. So I think I took literature in SS1, and I had like my end of year grade, I had 18% as my final grade. Imagine.
So,
but I think I love literature, but I didn't understand why I kept failing it. But you know, as time went on, I think maybe I probably challenged myself because I liked writing. And it's funny, last summer, I taught summer school at a high school, and I was in this English language class where they were reading Things Fall Apart. So I was supporting the teacher and helping kids understand the culture that was happening there. And it was very interesting because they're like, oh, this is Nina. She's actually Igbo. I'm Delta Igbo. And so I had to sit down and teach them my limited vocabulary, and I was teaching Igbo, but I told myself I could tell them whatever, and they won't even know that I don't know what I'm saying because they don't understand. But it's thank you for comparing me to Chinua Achebe. I like that. I have not read The Madman, but I'm gonna look for it and read it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
In fact, I'll add that this short insight about your background resonates with the journey of self-discovery too. Your journey from being a novice in literature to an authority is a great story of self-discovery. Kudos to you. You've done great by yourself. I think, do we have any other?
I think Maxwell raised his hand earlier. I don't know if he still wants to ask or comment.
Yeah, I wanted to make comment the other time, but it seems Roddy has actually captured my thoughts on the book. Just a comment that I was actually fascinated. Initially, when she started, I was saying, okay, where are we going with this? Because the setting initially was that of a village setting. So how she moved to the city setting or a classroom setting was actually maybe as kept asking the question that how did that happen? So it's still bringing me in suspense, which is one of the comments I want to make actually, that she actually mastered suspense because it's kept us really waiting for more. Okay, where is this story going? So now that she was able to release all the information, and then we say, oh, we know where it's going to end, but it's quite captivating. Kudos to you.
Thank you for that comment. I actually said it earlier on that that sharp transition from that local setting to modernity is top notch. It came as a shock to everybody, but then immediately you are on the immediately to just adjust to the setting. That's a great talent. Keep it up. I guess do we still have other reactions? If you don't, maybe you give us, let's indulge us some more with maybe 1 or 2 pages from the concluding part of the text, please. Can you do that for us?
I
Otto?
can.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
so I extracted the pages that I wanted to read, so then I'm going back to like the whole book.
All right.
But one more thing I want to mention is the book is not just one love story. It's actually 3 love stories.
Wow.
If you see the cover of it, there are 3 women, and it is 3 generations of women. And so I don't want to give it all away. You got to read the book to find out what's going to happen. But let me read like 2 pages from the next chapter. Chapter 5 is breaking the ice. Let's see. Okay, let me share. Okay, so we're on chapter 2. I'm gonna read page 63 and 64 from the second paragraph. Days went by quickly. Those days turned into endless weeks. Tamara still carried on with her elusive attitude. Some days she would feel brave enough, but would back out at the last minute. She hid herself, passed different paths home. Sometimes she left class before it had ended. She continuously dodged any scenario that would put her alone with Ehi. Ehi, on the other hand, was somewhat frustrated by his efforts to reach out to her. He tried to do other things to get his mind off her, but all to no avail. He would stare at her picture and create series of other drawings, working from what he had done in class. He also wrote some more deep-rooted poetry to express his emotions. He spent his weekends fishing with Grandpa, who was always grateful for the company. Then one day, after a healthy catch and sale at the market, he felt inclined to take a long walk into the woods where he had first spotted Tamara. He felt a bit downcast by the thought of not finding her there because his false hope had been dashed many times before. Perhaps it will never happen again, he thought out loud. However, on this day, the gods were on his side. He heard no singing, no footsteps or other signs to indicate that she would be there. But he walked on towards the stream, patted the bushes, and there she was, sitting by the banks of the river. She was like a fiction of his ambitious imagination. Her feet were fully immersed in the water, and she looked solemn, quiet, and so distant. The wind had taken control of her hair, her clothing sculpted her figure so well. Tamara looked picturesque, like an angel who had just descended from the sky. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. So the ice will be broken but you have to find out what happens next.
Thank you so much, darling Otto. So that's a great reading. I so much love the fact that you are so in tune with your work, so relaxed, and they are getting us go with the flow. That's a great one. Once again, over to the audience. Do we have any other reactions from the audience? Anybody?
Yes,
Question?
Vivian is raising her hand. Vivian, over to you.
Okay. Good day, everyone.
Good day.
Well, I'm kind of short for words, but like I mentioned earlier, Nina is a long time friend. We were in, as you would say in America, we were in college together. We were in OAU fair together, and I have always known Nina to be multi-talented in different areas: art, drawing, languages. She could speak in different accents and all that. And I still find it so awe-inspiring, reading and hearing her about her work. And I'm so impressed. I really doff my hat to you,
Thank
Nina. Yes, I know I promised I was going to read the book. My schedule has been very, very hectic. So when I saw your post about this book read, I was like, okay, at least let me, like Tamara did, start putting my foot in the river. And I'll say that with this little insight, I'm really going to rush to go and get the book and read. I am so impressed. Your work is top notch, and I really don't know what to say. And I just pray that your pen, your thoughts, your mind gets sharper and better illuminated. I really love your work. Well done, well done. I'm so impressed.
Thank you so much. Vivian is my sister from another father. We have been through a lot of times together, and she's been there for me in so many ways. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you, Vivian. Okay, Chukuma, you have something to say?
Yes, sir. Please, ma, Nina, the title, if I'm going to pick a book to buy, and then I see a title like Petal for my tears, petals, I can go a long way. I'm not an imaginative person. I'm not that creative. But the tears will kind of slow me down. Actually delving further because I won't want to engage in something sorrowful. So please, can you enlighten us on precisely what led to Petals for my tears?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a really good question. I'm trying to, it actually is a poem. And the idea behind the poem was that I was sad and I was crying. And as I cried, my tears flowed and they watered the ground. And as they watered the ground, the flowers grew. And the flowers grew and they blossomed and the petals fell off. And the flowers kept blossoming and falling off and beautifying the land. So petals for my tears means sometimes when you cry, some good comes out of it. You have to suffer, you don't have to suffer. But if you suffer and you cry, at the end of the day, you still could end up happy. And I want to isolate, the poem is in the book, but I'm going to find the poem on its own and I can read it for you so you can understand better. Yeah. This is me looking for it.
Thank you, ma.
That's quite great. Sorry, I was lost there, but I'm back on now. So I made that concluding comment of tears falling, blossoming the petals into flowers. And I would add this, that the title is quite metaphoric with a deep meaning. You have just divulged the meaning. I just have this to add that that's one thing about literature as an art. It's therapeutic. It doesn't give off its meaning at a glance. You have to be deeply educated and in the know of the diverse layers of meaning. And that's the richness of literature.
Have you found the poem now?
I am looking
Okay.
for
So
chapter.
we really love that.
We just do the search in the search on top of the document. Petals. I'm sure that will bring the page to you.
Okay.
It's a whole chapter title.
Okay.
And when I search it up, it pops up like on the it's on the header of the book, so it's on every page. You see?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, the poem.
What about chess? That will be a unique word that is not so common on every page, since this is a very swoon-worthy, sweet kind of prose.
Okay.
Okay.
See, it was easier for me to find in the book.
Okay.
All right. So let me read the book to you like I'm reading, the book itself. Okay. Petals for my tears. In loneliness, in love. In sorrow, in weakness. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. For what was, what is, and what still will be. I cry, and still I cry. When the weight begins to build on my thoughts, when my head and my heart begin to ask why, and it tells on my being what lies within. Water begins to well up in my eyes, heavy and pregnant with tears. But the weight is too much, and my eyes can take it no more, and the tears begin to roll down my cheeks. It starts in trickles, but then begins to gush, and gush and gush until it gushes out in a rush, flowing on into the calabash before me, already filled with tears, with barely enough room for mine. For there were those who have been crying before me. They are still crying now, the tears of my mother and my mother's mother. 3 generations of outcasts letting out our sorrows, redefining our tomorrow, for our pot of woe is full now, and the tears have begun to overflow, touching the floor beneath our pot of woe, touching places, touching grounds, but it brings forth naught but nourishment to the ground, and soon gives birth to stubs of green, fresh greenery, sprouting out soon, and the sun has begun to shine, blooming and bright that they burst into a bloom, roses, daffodils, turnips, and sunflowers, and flowers and even more flowers. The winds whisper, and then they blow hard without a threat to wither. And the petals have been hacked off their mother rose, their mother daffodils, turnips, and sunflowers, their mother flowers, gone with the obedience of the wind, flowing and following wherever it takes it, touching people and places, touching hearts that could never be reached, flowing still to the great beyond, the dreams we said we could never dream, the moments we said could never be. They flow on, and still they follow the wind. And to all those who be blessed by them, for I have cried and now they tell it all that I'm crying still. the petals for my tears, still flowing still, granting rewards to our sufferings, giving us hope for a better tomorrow, bringing petals from my tears. So that poem actually is like the heartbeat of the book. It's 3 generations of women, 3 generations of outcasts. The idea behind the petals is if I cry and my flowers bloom and the petals fall off and they spread all over the world, it means my tears are bringing fruits of joy to other people. So it's a book that gives you hope, it makes you believe in the impossible and let you know the power of love. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Thanks so much for owing us with that awesome poetry. It's just wow. I love the metaphor. It's a great metaphor, pregnant with meaning. And I love that. I love that the message translates to hope. That there is always, to every dark cloud, there's always a silver lining. You might start with tears, but that tears in itself is a means to an end at the end of the day. And a beautiful end at that. End of productivity. I love that. That's the message we all need, the message of hope. So the message that is to everybody, that should resonate with everyone, that we should never give up, no matter the situation we are today. We are just transiting, and may our transition be a positive one, to positivity. Thanks so much, author. We've really had a great day. I believe I am speaking the mind of everybody here, that we've got a quite insightful and interesting as well as entertaining time with our author today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, just awesome. You're a bundle of talents. I could see you inserting your artworks there by making our protagonists.
Oh, sorry. I think we lost idea there going to network. Sorry about that. Well, what a day it's been. I mean, reading from your very, very beautiful prose, Nina, this morning. Thankfully, we are almost a similar time zone. And for those in Nigeria, it's evening already. I mean, it's lovely. What actually intrigues me about this, your prose is that, you talked about your encounter with Mukhtar Bakari, and he said, okay, well, I mean, it does prose, not poetry. But, reading or hearing you read from this, every line of that prose is strewn with poetry. And what just occurred to me is like, hey, see, you can bring prose out of a poet, but you cannot stop a poet from writing poetry in prose, because every word is strewn. I mean, this is not a typical prose where I see it, and just like Agia said, there's lots of code switching. We're switching between prose and poetry, and even the lines. They're very, very fantastic and very captivating too. And kudos to you. I'm not sure there are so many books in the world that are written the way you've done Petals from Matthias, and that is commendable. Kudos to you, for writing this masterpiece. And all of us are looking forward to getting our own copies of the book and then reading it. So that this suspense, this Fahrenheit that you've already raised our temperature to, can be doused, and then we can look at what really happened at the end of the story. So thank you so much for joining us today and coming to read, and even having to cut your sleep short. It's Sunday, everybody's whether you stay a longer time and then you have to be here, and we are so grateful for that, for having you here today. I don't know if any other person has any question or comments for our author today before we give a vote of thanks, and then we announce. Mary, do we have announcement for the next reading? This is a monthly affair, so we have the next reading coming up in January. Okay, Rodia, you have the floor, please. You have a comment?
So I'm sorry, I had to come in again. Just honestly wowed. I'm marveled. And I put up a comment in the chat section earlier about how poetry is, and how I got another experience of it this evening. I love that piece.
Mm,
It's particularly rousing in the sense that you don't have to be all that deep or all that attuned with poetry to relate with it,
mm,
because it has so many dimensions. You could relate it with it on the literal perspective, as in
mm,
when tears fall, they water the ground and flowers will bloom. But then if you want to relate with it from the more literary perspective, appreciating the metaphor, it's just a piece that I would personally like to get my hands on. I don't know if the author would be benevolent enough to share us probably a page so that we can have, the poetry piece, or, any means by which we can have, the poem, such that some of us that are particularly enthralled can, you know, get access to it. And also, how can we keep up with you, ma'am? For someone like me, I feel you're a source of inspiration. So
mm.
if at any point we want to reach out to you, or we feel like we would need to get in touch with you, is there any access, ma'am?
I'm going to give you my email address and my number. I don't mind. I'm trying to find my signature on my emails.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so any other comment, while we're trying to sort that? Comments, questions, anyone? Wow, okay. It's been such a lovely evening. Sean, I don't know if you have anything to share with us, to say to us. You have the mic, literally. Just need
Yeah,
to
nothing really. Just to say thank you to Nina for honoring this moment. And as a matter of fact, everything I've heard is below what I know. I know about Nina. She's been, when I met her in 2004, she used to draw. And as a matter of fact, when I wrote my first book, I wrote my first Kwekwe book, she actually drew the book. She drew this for my first book. The book was released in 2004, 5, and she was graceful enough to draw this year. So I've known so much about her, and so when she released the book, I said, okay, this is not this is below expectation, as in she should have authored more than 10 by now. So bringing one out now is too late. So thank you so much, Nina, and thank you she was my boss, not colleague. She was my boss. So thank you so much for making this out at this time, and thank you for the great context in the book. So keep doing magic, and we'll keep in touch and see how we can further, synergize together as a family. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you so much. You know what? Even though you say I was your boss, I always considered you a friend.
Yeah, I agree, but
yeah, and family. So it
yeah.
didn't feel like a boss. And you know what? That Reunion of the Dead, I have that book right here.
Oh,
I brought it with me. Yes, I still have it. Yeah, so
thank
you actually inspired me when I saw your book of poetry. I'm like, what? I could do that. I have poetry too. So yeah, thank you. You have always been a positive influence in my life in one way or the other. So thank you.
Nina.
You made
Nina.
me
God
happy.
bless. Thank you, Nina. God bless you. Yeah, thank you.
Wow. So thank you so much, Nina Cheung, for the very invitation, and to you guys all for being part of this reading experience today. It's a memorable one. one that will forever reminisce over, and oh, such beautiful. And I know the best thing for us to do really is to get a copy of that book. I mean, as Nina said, it's on Amazon. So if you want to buy the hard copy, can actually go for the soft one on Kindle, or even go for the paper cover, if that should be, that should be more accessible to you. So please, let's avail ourselves, because the idea is actually to have the author come to read to us, and then whet our appetite enough for us to want to get to read those books. And the more we actually engage ourselves with literary endeavors like this, the better we are, the better the ecosystem we create in the literary world, not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, but across the world. So I want to thank you again for coming and honoring us today, Nina. Thanks to the audience, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Literary Innovation Foundation, thank you for making our day. And we look forward to, when you author other books, we look forward to having you again to come and read to us from your literary outputs. And we will be so glad to actually listen to you again. So everyone, I think Mary is...
Yes, so on a last note, please, before I was cut off by network, let me just keep it in. I was saying something before I was cut off by the network. I appreciate our author once again, and I indeed want to acknowledge you as a great mentor to the youths. You are quite youthful and a bundle of talent. I'm glad that LRF brought you here. And I know that you may not know it. You've taught so many lives as a source of inspiration. Just keep up the good work. And I pray God continues.
Okay, and then for further information about our subsequent events and
more inspirations to churn out here with us. So thanks for coming, and we thank everybody. I believe the announcement has been
so much, Nina.
There's a WhatsApp group where we announce our subsequent events. Please, I mean, it's been dropped in the chat. You can join us there, and then hopefully you get to meet the author and other authors we've had on this forum. And then, as I said, we have some programs coming up in January. We have the Reading Culture Dialogue, where we'll be discussing ASU strike and the implication on Nigerian education, the youths, the parents, then the industry or the private sector as a whole. And then we also have a very interesting book reading coming up in January, when we'll be having, I think you guys should also be there. So we're going to enjoy that reading. We have, because, the Ready Writers were part of the editorial process for that book. And it's a book that left so much impact on me as an editor working on that book. We will have that book being read to us in January. It's Votuno, that's the title. It's about slave trade in Badagry and all that, and in a very creative way. So coming, I think the second Sunday in January, we'll have that reading, and we look forward to having you all there that day. So from here again, thanks for coming. See you all next week, next month, sorry. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.